Welcome again to my channel. This is Treb from Essence, and this morning we are going to be continuing the reading of the book of Deuteronomy. This morning we're going to be reading chapters 23, 24, and 25. If you have been following me, you would have been able to listen to me read from the book of Genesis, which we started over a year ago. We've had some intermittent stops along the way, but they're all still really on my channel, so you can always go back and listen to them. Swoop, how are you doing? So this morning we're going to be reading chapters 22, 23, and now 23, 24, and 25 of the book of Deuteronomy. So come with me, guys, and let's begin. Deuteronomy chapter 23. He that is wounded in the stones, or hath his privy member cut off, shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord. A bastard. Now you see where that word came from? A bastard shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord. Even to his 10th generation shall he not enter into the congregation of the Lord. Now, I'm stopping right there because I must say this. So some while ago, we had a conversation about the old teachings of the church. I told you all that I was born and raised as an Adventist, and when I was a baby, which was 50 years ago, I was not allowed to be christened in the church. My sisters and I were not allowed to be christened in the church because our parents were not married. And so I got a lot of people saying, really? Really? I had to send them back to go take a look at the history of the church that the denomination of which I have pledged allegiance, right? I could not be christened in the church because I was, quote unquote, a bastard because my parents were not married. And I had to be christened in the church, in a Pentecostal church. I had to be christened in a Pentecostal church. So you see, when I tell you all that a lot of these laws that the churches are following, they're not sustainable. Because right now, you can christen your baby. Anybody can christen their baby in the Adventist church. And I'm not saying anything to be saying anything bad about the Adventist church. That's the church I've always gone to. That's the only church I'm ever going to go to. End of story. But I'm just saying that this is where we are coming from as a people. And just as how Moses had to change the law to accommodate, just like how Moses had to change the law to accommodate Zelophehad's daughters back in the day, so too has the Adventist church had to change that rule to accommodate the people of the church, because many people in the church were having babies. Don't mind the fact that they put you what they call backbench you, because you went against the grain of the rules that were taught in the church. But they had to change. So when people are fussing about stuff changing and the Bible is forever and the Bible shouldn't change and the word shouldn't change, stop, listen, and learn that things change, because these old archaic laws are not sustainable in a modern society. We have to embrace the people's desires, and the events that are occurring in people's lives. We can't just get up and say, "Oh, we're gonna just be draconian and move forward with these old archaic laws because the Bible says so." Here is the same Bible that is saying you cannot enter into the church if you are a bastard. Hey, and for your 10th generation, 10 generations of you will be able to enter because of the quote unquote sin 10 generations ago. Imagine that. That's like 200 years later. But let us continue. We're going to start over. Chapter 23 of the book of Deuteronomy. He that is wounded in the stones, or hath his privy member cut off, shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord. A bastard shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord. Even to his 10th generation shall he not enter into the congregation of the Lord. An Amorite or Moabite shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord. Even to their 10th generation shall they not enter into the congregation of the Lord forever. Because they met you not with bread and with water in the way, when ye came forth out of Egypt, and because they hired against thee Balaam the son of Beor of Pethor of Mesopotamia to curse thee. Nevertheless, the Lord thy God would not hearken unto Balaam, but the Lord thy God turned the curse into a blessing unto thee, because the Lord thy God loved thee. Thou shalt not seek their peace, nor their prosperity, all thy days forever. Now, this is the Lord, this is the laws of the land back then for the Jews. So they are being told what they should do and what they should not do. And right here, this is encouraging blatant hatred. Nonetheless, the Moabites and those are what they called them, the Gentiles who lived around the Jews. Those people were, it was a reciprocated hatred between them and the Jewish people. It wasn't like I hate you, but you love me. It was everybody hating everybody. Each side hated the other side. Now here's the Bible telling them, those people shall not come into the temple. You ever wonder why strangers can't just walk into a tabernacle? Think about it. Okay. Because they should not mix with you. Okay. You ever wonder why somebody who is of Jewish descent gets a backlash if they venture out to marry somebody who is not? Think about it. But let us continue. We are on to verse 5. Nevertheless, the Lord thy God will not hearken unto Balaam, but the Lord thy God turned the curse into a blessing unto thee, because the Lord thy God loved thee. Thou shalt not seek their peace nor their prosperity all thy days forever. Thou shalt not abhor an Edomite, for he is thy brother. So he's saying right here that an Edomite, that is your brother. You shouldn't abhor him. You shouldn't hate him. But you should hate the Amorites and you should hate the Moabites. Thou shalt not hate an Egyptian, because thou wast a stranger in his land. The children that are begotten of them shall enter into the congregation of the Lord in their 3rd generation. You all got that? They shouldn't hate the Edomites because the Edomites are their brother. They shouldn't hate the Egyptians because they were once living in the Egyptian land. So for you to love somebody, it has to be conditional. That's exactly what this is saying. For them to have privileges around you, it has to be conditional. He says, unto the third generation shall they enter. That means until the third generation of the Egyptians and the Edomites shall they enter into the congregation of Jerusalem, the children of Israel, that is. Let us continue. When the host goeth forth against thine enemies, then keep thee from every wicked thing. If there be among you any man that is not clean by reason of uncleanliness, that changeth him by night, then shall he go abroad out of the camp, he shall not come within the camp. But it shall be, when evening cometh on, he shall wash himself with water, and when the sun is down, he shall come into the camp. So if you are dirty for any reason, any laws that have been established that have caused you to be considered unclean, then you shall not come into the temple. You shall stay out, you shall wash yourself with water, and then in the evening, that's when you shall be welcomed back into the tabernacle or into the camp. Verse 12, thou shalt have a place also within the camp, whither thou shalt go forth abroad. And thou shalt have a paddle upon thy weapon, and it shall be, when thou wilt ease thyself abroad, thou shalt dig therewith, and shalt turn back and cover that which cometh from thee. Okay. Is that supposed to be your excrement? That which cometh from thee? That's how I interpret that. That when you go out to battle, you shall have a paddle on your weapon, so that when you go out to battle and you have to use the bathroom in the fields, you use the paddle to dig a hole and then cover it. That's how I interpret that. If you know differently or think differently, let me know in the comments. For the Lord thy God walketh in the midst of thy camp, to deliver thee, and to give thee thine enemies before thee. Therefore shall thy camp be holy, that he see no unclean thing in thee, and turn away from thee. Thou shalt not deliver unto his master the servant which is escaped from his master unto thee. He shall dwell with thee, even among you, in that place which he shall choose in one of thy gates, where it liketh him best. Thou shalt not oppress him. There shall be no whore of the daughters of Israel, nor a sodomite of the sons of Israel. Thou shalt not bring the hire of a whore, or the price of a dog, into the house of the Lord thy God for any vow, for even both these are abomination unto the Lord thy God. Thou shalt not lend upon usury to thy brother, usury of money, usury of victuals, usury of anything that is lent upon usury. Unto a stranger thou mayest lend upon usury, but unto thy brother thou shalt not lend upon usury, that the Lord thy God may bless thee in all that thou settest thine hand to in the land whither thou goest to possess it. Verse 21. When thou shalt vow a vow unto the Lord thy God, thou shalt not slack to pay it, for the Lord thy God will surely require it of thee, and it shall be sin in thee. Let's read verse 21 again. When thou shalt vow a vow unto the Lord thy God, thou shalt not slack to pay it, for the Lord thy God will surely require it of thee, and it would be sin in thee. But if thou shalt forbear to vow, it shall be no sin to thee. That which is gone out of thy lips thou shalt keep and perform. That means your word should be your bond. Even a freewill offering, according as thou hast vowed unto the Lord your God, which thou hast promised with thy mouth. When thou comest into thy neighbor's vineyard, then thou mayest eat grapes, thy fill at thine own pleasure, but thou shalt not put away any in thy vessel. When thou comest into the standing corn of thy neighbor, then thou mayest pluck the ear with thine hand, but thou shalt not move a sickle unto thy neighbor's standing corn. Let's move on to that is the end of chapter 23. But guys, I just noticed something here. We somehow missed chapter 22. And so I'm going to go back and read chapter 22. So right here we're going to have 23, then 22, then 24. My bad. My bad. But we are going to move forward nonetheless. Let's read chapter 22 of the book of Deuteronomy. Thou shalt not see thy brother's ox or his sheep go astray, and hide thyself from them. Thou shalt in any case bring them again unto thy brother. And if thy brother be not nigh unto thee, or if thou know him not, then thou shalt bring it unto thine own house, and it shall be with thee until thy brother seek after it, and thou shalt restore it to him again. So if you see your neighbor's animals going astray, you should not just allow the animal to keep walking and going further and further astray, but you have an obligation to seek out your brother and deliver to him his animal that's gone astray. And if you can't find that person, you are obligated per this law to keep that animal until the person who owns the animal starts searching for the animal. Then you deliver over the animal. That was when we were truly encouraged to be our brother's keepers. Nowadays, if you see an animal going astray, you're minding your business, because not everybody is herding animals like back in the day. Back in the day, everybody was herding their animals because their animal was their family's security, was their family's source of income. So, and it was what they needed to pay their dowry. So, but now we don't need that. So we don't have people having a herd of cattle in their backyard, everybody having animals all around. So how relevant is that to today's society? What we could do now, we could modify this law to suit the times we are living in. If you see your neighbor's dog or your neighbor's cat going astray, you can get your neighbor to come get the dog, get the cat. And that would be in alignment with this archaic law about the herd, the animals. But anyway, some people still want to hold on and say, oh, well, the Bible says so. So I'm doing. Let's see how much of the Bible you can continue to hold on to. Let us continue. We're reading the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 22. Verse 4. Thou shalt not see thy brother's ass or his ox fall down by the way, and hide thyself from them. Thou shalt surely help him to lift them up again. The woman shall not wear that which pertaineth unto a man, neither shall a man put on a woman's garment, for all that do so are abomination unto the Lord thy God. If a bird's nest chance to be before thee in the way in any tree or on the ground, whither they be young ones or eggs, and the dam sitting upon the young or upon the eggs, thou shalt not take the dam with the young. But thou shalt in any wise let the dam go, and take the young to thee, that it may be well with thee, and that thou mayst prolong thy days. So for you to have long life, if you see a bird's nest, you can't take both. You can't take both the mother and the eggs, or the mother and the young ones. You got to take the young ones and let the mother go, so that your days may be long. Verse 8. When thou buildest a new house, then thou shalt make a battlement for thy roof, that thou bring not blood upon thine house, if any man fall from thence. Okay. So you got to build this battlement on your house so that no one can fall off if they are working on it. Build what, like a scaffolding? I don't know. These are the laws of the Bible, guys. It's not me. I'm just reading it so we can all have a layman's understanding of these historic writings that many of us seek to follow diligently without any diversions. Let's see how well we can do that after we have finished reading this book. Let us continue. We are on to verse 9 of Deuteronomy chapter 22. Thou shalt not sow thy vineyard with divers seeds, lest the fruit of thy seed which thou hast sown, and the fruit of thy vineyard be defiled. Thou shalt not plow with an ox and an ass together. Thou shalt not wear a garment of divers sorts, as of woolen and linen together. You can't put wool and linen together to make your clothes. Thou shalt make thee fringes upon the four quarters of thy vesture, wherewith thou coverest thyself. If any man take a wife and go in unto her, and hate her, and give occasions of speech against her, and bring up an evil name upon her, and say, I took this woman, and when I came to her, I found her not a maid. Then shall the father of the damsel and her mother take and bring forth the tokens of the damsel's virginity unto the elders of the city in the gate. And the damsel's father shall say unto the elders, I gave my daughter unto this man to wife, and he hates her. And lo, he hath given occasions of speech against her, saying, I found not thy daughter a maid, and yet these are the tokens of my daughter's virginity. And they shall spread the cloth before the elders of the city. And the elders of that city shall take that man and chastise him. What? So if he takes the woman and he marries her, he takes her home, he goes to bed with her, and he finds out that her virginity is questionable, He's got to take her back to the elders, to her mother, to her father, take her to the elders for them to do what again? Imagine in today's world, for those of you who are saying you're following the Bible to the T because the Bible says so, so are you doing. Imagine you getting married. I don't know how many people get married these days as virgins. They probably get married at 12 and 13. But but imagine you being married. Your husband takes you home and says, oops, oops. So you're not a virgin after all. I'm taking you back to your parents. And then your parents got to take you to the elders. And imagine, imagine something like this happening. So I tell you, my friends, if you want to say you are following the Bible to the T and you want to come to me with the argument that because the Bible says X, Y, Z, you are going to follow it. Here, right here, is another example of why you can't say that, of why your argument is as weak as a flea. Let us continue. Deuteronomy chapter 22. We're on to verse 19. And they shall immerse him in 100 shekels of silver, and give them unto the father of the damsel, because he hath brought up an evil name upon a virgin of Israel, and she shall be his wife. He may not put her away all his days. Okay? So if he determines, you know how some men, it's not just today that men are wicked and cruel. Not just men, women are wicked too. But I'm gonna say men for argument's sake of this reading. So you marry the woman, you take her home. You determine, hey, you don't like her, you don't like what she got, you don't like whatever the reason you want to come up with, because men, they will come up with all kind of cockadoodle reasons as to why they don't love their wife, why they don't like their wife anymore, X, Y, Z. So you don't like your wife anymore. You've just married her, and all of a sudden you just don't want to be with her anymore. You got to take her back to her parents because you don't want to be with her anymore. But the law says that you should marry a virgin. Now you have married her, you have taken her home, you have defiled her, as it says here. You have defiled her. But now you hate her. So you take her back to her parents. What should her parents do with her now that you have brought her back? You have unvirginized her and now brought her back. Nobody else, according to the law, should marry her now because she her husband is not divorced from her. She was married and she has been defiled. So here the elders say, oh no, 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 no. You're not gonna bring her back just like that. We have found that she was indeed a virgin when you married her. So you the one who defiled her. Don't come up with this mess. Talk about she wasn't, because she was. You gonna keep her for the rest of your life. Now imagine if that happened in today's society, where your daughter is married and she and her husband has a falling out. She he divorces her, puts her out of the house, whatever the case may be, and she comes home to you. And you says to the husband, heck to the no, you shall not bring my daughter back home because you took her from here and you married her, so you are going to keep her for the rest of your life. And you take your daughter back and you tell the husband he got to keep her. Imagine that. What do you think might happen after that? Your guess is as good as mine. Let us continue. Verse 21 of chapter 22 of the book of Deuteronomy. Then they shall bring out the damsel to the door of her father's house, and the men of her city shall stone her with stones. Want to hear that? Exactly. That's what would happen to her. That's what would happen to her, or even worse, they would have to bury her. But listen, here they say, Let me go back to chapter 19 because we got to get this in order. And they shall immerse him in 100 shekels of silver and give them unto the father of the damsel, because he hath brought up an evil name upon a virgin of Israel, and she shall be his wife. He may not put her away all his days. But continue to listen. In the same breath, listen to this. But if this thing be true, and the tokens of virginity be not found for the damsel. All right. So if they have found that she was indeed a virgin when he married her, then they're going to bring her back to him, and he got to keep her for the rest of his life. But if they found that he has told a lie, that she was not a virgin, when in fact she was, he got to keep her. But if it's the other way around, this is what they're going to do to her. Now listen. He's now exactly, Soup. He is resenting her now. Let's read what what verse 20 says. But if this thing be true, and the tokens of virginity be not found for the damsel, then they shall bring out the damsel to the door of her father's house, and the men of her city shall stone her with stones that she die, because she hath wrought folly in Israel, to play the whore in her father's house. So shalt thou put evil away from among you. Do y'all still have that argument that you got to go by the Bible, whatever the Bible say? Now, would you want something like this happen to your child? Now, your daughter is married and she goes out to her husband. She goes on with her husband. They're now married. Her husband comes back with her a few days after that, and says to you, well, I thought your daughter was a virgin, but she's not. You take her to the temple. You allow all these old men to interrogate her and to examine her, to check for her virginity, if she was indeed a virgin when she got married. And if they found that she was indeed a virgin when she got married, but this husband hates her and is telling lies and making up story about her, they're going to bring her back to him and say, listen, you are telling lies. She was a virgin when you married her, so you are obligated to keep her for the rest of your life. Or, heck, these old men have not only interrogated, but assessed and inspected your daughter and her privacy, and they have found that indeed she was not a virgin when she got married. So she brought shame and folly on to Israel. So everybody, you're going to put her out your house, and all the men are called to stone her to death. Let us continue. But the man who has exactly, Soup. The man who has her virginity is free as a bird to go get another virgin. But she, the woman, is the one who is stoned. All right, let us continue. We are on to verse 22 of the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 22. If a man be found lying with a woman married to a husband, then they shall, both of them shall die, both the man that lay with the woman and the woman. So shalt thou put away evil from Israel. If a damsel that is a virgin be betrothed unto a husband, and a man find her in the city, and lie with her, then he shall bring them both out unto the gate of that city, and he shall stone them with stones, that they die. The damsel, because she cried not, being in the city, and the man, because he hath humbled his neighbor's wife. So thou shalt put away evil from among you. That's what was called evil back then. But if a man find a betrothed damsel in the field, and the man force her and lie with her, that is the graping, all right? Then the man only that lay with her shall die. So in the case that he raped her, then he alone shall be put to death. All right, verse 26. But unto the damsel thou shalt do nothing. There is in the damsel no sin worthy of death. For as when a man riseth against his neighbor and slayeth him, even so is this matter. For he found her in the field, and the betrothed damsel cried, and there were none to save her. So there she was taken by force and against her will, so the man must be punished. But if she went willingly, as it said earlier, if she was found in the city, as in chapter 24 says, if they were found in verse 24, if they were found in the city to be together, meaning that was consensual. She agreed to be with the man, and the man agreed to be with her, even though she was betrothed. That means engaged to another man. Then both of them shall be stoned. But if he raped her, then he alone shall be put to death. Verse 28. If a man find a damsel that is a virgin, which is not betrothed, and lay hold on her, and lie with her, and they be found, then the man that lay with her shall give unto the damsel's father 50 shekels of silver. Help me, Lord. Somebody out there needs to pay my mama 50 shekels of silver. Somebody out there owes my mama 50 shekels of silver. If a man that lay with her, let's read that again. Verse 28. If a man find a damsel that is a virgin, which is not betrothed, and lay hold on her, and lie with her, and they be found, then the man that lay with her shall give unto the damsel's father 50 shekels of silver, and she shall be his wife. Hey, my husband is somewhere out there married to somebody else. Oh Lord. And he still hasn't paid my mama that 50 shekels of silver. Hell, I'm gonna call him up tomorrow. You gonna pay. Boy, can you imagine that, sis? Yeah, you better pay up. Oh my God. Help my soul. I got 4 adult kids. If I get 50 shekels of silver, I know none, only one is married, and I know the others ain't no virgins anymore. So I gotta get paid now. Hey, and she shall be his wife, because he hath humbled her. What a thing! He may not put her away all his days. Imagine that. My husband is out there married to somebody else. Ah, a man shall not take his father's wife, nor discover his father's skirt. This is the Bible. I'm reading straight from the Bible, guys. I'm not making this stuff up. The man who took your virginity is supposed to be your husband. All right? Y'all better go find him. Y'all better go find him. I'm going to find mine today. I'm going to text him, as a matter of fact, and remind him that, listen, you not only owe my mama 50 shekels, you were supposed to be my husband, because you humbled me. So you need to pay. Come on now. Let's move on, guys. We are going to read chapter 24. You might wonder why I'm jumping from 22 to 24. And that is because in spinning the Bible page, I didn't realize. I know where mine is too. I know where mine is too, sis, and I will certainly be texting him later. Mhm. So I'm going off to chapter 24 because I'd already read chapter 23 in this reading. Accidentally, I'd read it instead of reading chapter 22. So we end up reading 23, then 22, and now we're on to 24. All right. So if you're new here, I want to say welcome. Thank you so much for coming. If you are new into my channel, I want to say a very special welcome to you. And if you are a returning traveler, yeah, I want to say thank you for your continued support. If you have not yet subscribed to the channel, now is a great time to do so. We are moving. You know what? One good thing, I am always grateful for the fact that I was not defiled as a child, if you know what I mean. I was still considered a child. Teenager is a child, but I wasn't defiled before I made the decision to go along with the defilement. Yeah, I'm always grateful for that, and I sympathize with everybody who has been defiled against their will because they were so young and innocent, with the innocence stolen from them. I sympathize with them. Here we move on to chapter 24. When a man hath taken a wife and married her, and it come to pass that she find no favor in his eyes, because he hath found some uncleanliness in her, then let him write her a bill of divorcement. All right. You know, hear people say the Bible not agree with divorce. When you all hear people say the Bible not agree with divorce, Bible say they must stay together. Man a beat you, you claim the Bible say you have to stay together. Man a cheat on you, man a abuse you, man doing you all kinds of wicked. And you say, Lord, I got to stay because the Bible says I must stay with my husband till death do us part. He go make sure of that. Deuteronomy chapter 24. Let's read this again for those sisters out there who keep talking nonsense, being in those sour marriages that's going nowhere. Husband abusing you, husband treating you all messy, and you are staying talking about what the Bible says. It's for better or worse. I got to stay with my husband because this is my husband. Listen to what Deuteronomy chapter 24 says. When a man hath taken a wife and married her, and it come to pass that she find no favor in his eyes, because he hath found some uncleanliness in her, then let him write her a bill of divorcement and give it in her hand and send her out of his house. So there you go. You're sitting and waiting for him to divorce you. And when she is departed out of his house, she may go and be another man's wife. So be happy to leave that marriage that's not going anywhere and go be somebody else's wife. And if the latter husband, that is your second husband, if the second husband hates her and writes her a bill of divorcement and gives it in her hand and sends her out of his house, or if the latter husband die, which took her to be his wife, her former husband. I want to listen to the entanglement here that the Bible talking about. Her former husband, which sent her away, may not take her again to be his wife. After that, she is defiled, for that is abomination before the Lord, and thou shalt not cause the land to sin, which the Lord thy God giveth thee for an inheritance. When you hear these things that the Bible says, this, So if the man is married to the woman, And he no longer finds favor, you know, him no like her no more, him no want her no more. Him give her the divorce paper, she move on. She go find another husband. She married to that the husband. The husband no like her no more, him a divorce her too. Or he dies. The first husband can't take her back. Because that is an abomination if him take her back. So if you go back, go married to your husband who had divorced you before, you are an abomination. You have brought sin on the land. It shall not happen. Hmm. Let's continue reading verse 5. When a man hath taken a new wife, he shall not go out to war, neither shall he be charged with any business, but he shall be free at home for 1 year, and shall cheer up his wife, which he hath taken. 1 whole year, the man must stay him up, stay him yard. 1 whole year, he's got to stay home with his new wife. No man shall take the nether or the upper millstones to pledge, for he taketh a man's life to pledge. If a man be found stealing any of his brethren of the children of Israel, and maketh merchandise of him, or selleth him, then that thief shall die, and thou shalt put evil away from among you. Take heed in the plague of leprosy, that thou observe diligently, and do according to all that the priests, the Levites, shall teach you, as I commanded them, so he shall observe to do. Remember what the Lord thy God did unto Miriam by the way, after that he were come forth out of Egypt. What did the Lord do with Miriam again? I remember that Miriam was one of them. Miriam was among the people who had asked about Moses having married the Ethiopian woman. You all remember we read that? Miriam and Aaron were concerned for Moses because the law was that they shouldn't marry a stranger. And Moses had married an Ethiopian woman. And when Miriam and Aaron were asking Moses about, like, what is this? Why have you taken a strange woman? It's like Moses wasn't living by the law that he was giving to the people. Miriam was chastised for having the audacity to ask, to question Moses, but Aaron wasn't. Miriam was seen as a traitor, but not Moses, not Aaron. The women always get to bear the brunt of it. So here he's saying, remember what the Lord thy God did unto Miriam, by the way. And that, by the way, they're talking about is not like, it's not like how we say now, like, by the way, like, listen up, there's something more to say. There, by the way, means that on their journey from Egypt to the promised land, that is there by the way. So when the Bible is talking about this by the way, that's what it's talking about. Not the way we use the term by the way in today's modern language. Okay. After that, he were come forth out of Egypt. Verse 10. When thou dost lend thy brother anything, thou shalt not go into his house to fetch his pledge. Thou shalt stand abroad, and the man to whom thou dost lend shall bring out the pledge abroad unto thee. And if the man be poor, thou shalt not sleep with his pledge. In any case, thou shalt deliver him the pledge again when the sun goeth down, that he may sleep in his own raiment, and build thee and bless thee, and it shall be righteousness unto thee before the Lord thy God. Verse 14. Thou shalt not oppress an hired servant that is poor and needy, neither he be of thy brethren, or of thy strangers that are in thy land within thy gates. At this day thou shalt give him his hire, neither shall the sun go down upon it, for he is poor, and sets his heart upon it, lest he cry against thee unto the Lord, and it be sin unto thee. So if somebody is poor and you hire them, you should give them their fair pay. Don't let them have to go cry because you didn't pay them. Don't let them have to go cry to the Lord to say, look at this. I've worked for this person and this person hasn't paid me, because then it shall be sin unto you. Verse 16, the fathers shall not be put to death for the children, neither shall the children be put to death for their fathers. Every man shall be put to death for his own sin. Thou shalt not pervert the judgment of the stranger, nor of the fatherless, nor take a widow's raiment to pledge. But thou shalt remember that thou wast a bondman in Egypt, and the Lord thy God redeemed thee thence. Therefore I command thee to do this thing. Verse 19, when thou cuttest down thine harvest in thy field, and hast forgot a sheaf in the field, thou shalt not go again to fetch it. It shall be for the stranger, for the fatherless, and for the widow, that the Lord thy God may bless thee in all the work of thine hand. Okay, so when you plant your field, you shouldn't reap everything. And we also read about that in, I think, Genesis, in Leviticus, that when you plant your field and you go to reap, you shouldn't reap everything. You should leave some things. Leave some things for the poor, for the needy, for the widows. I know that if you live close to a field, I've heard my friends say that, like, here in North Carolina, they got like corn fields and potato fields and lots of agriculture. And I've heard people say when the farmers have reaped all the potatoes and they leave the little stragglers in the field, people are allowed to go take it. You just can't go take it and sell it. You can't make a business out of it, but you can take it just for your own household use, which is a good thing. That's a good thing to do. Verse 20, when thou beatest thine olive, I don't know, this language in the Bible, this beatest and comest and goest, when thou beatest thine olive tree, thou shalt not go over the boughs again. It shall be for the stranger, for the fatherless, and for the widow. When you gather the grapes of your vineyard, thou shalt not glean it afterwards. It shall be for the stranger, for the fatherless, and for the widow. Verse 22, this is the last verse of chapter 25. And thou shalt remember that thou wast a bondman in the land of Egypt. Therefore I command thee to do this thing. So here, the Jews, the children of Israel, they are being commanded to do what is quote unquote considered the right things, so that they may not sin in the sight of the Lord, because these sins come with some serious consequences. So here they are saying, if you go to reap your olives, don't reap everything off each tree. If you go to reap your grapes, don't reap everything off the grapevines. Leave something for the widows, for the fatherless, for the stranger. So if there is somebody passing by who is hungry, they can maybe find a few grapes to eat. They can find a few olives. Don't take everything. And that is supposed to be their good deed to humanity. But don't forget that when it comes to sex and the way people treated conjugal connections. It was so serious back then. It's easy to just leave something in the field for somebody to eat. That's easy. That's your goodwill. But not to allow somebody to live because they have committed adultery or fornicated. You can't allow them to live for that. But you can help to feed the poor. That is a good thing. But it is okay for you to pick up stones and stone somebody because they choose to do whatever they choose to do to their body, with their body. Think about it. And think about the contradictions of love, the contradictions of caring, the contradictions of humanity, and how these contradictions in of themselves in the Bible, these very contradictions may have been the contributors to why so many people these days are not as in tune with the Bible as people used to be. Because nowadays people are reading for themselves and understanding what is said in the Bible, who is saying it, to whom it is being said, and the context of why it's being said. Now, if a book is written today, if somebody dares to write a book today to pass a law and say, this is the law of the land. If a man is found with a woman to whom he is not married, we are going to bring him in the square and throw stones at him. How many of us would say, yes, this is the book for me. This is the law right here that I was waiting on. How many of us would say that? But anyway, we walk around with the Bible in our hands and we say, I do what the Bible says because the Bible says I should do it. Just think about it. Just think about it. Think about it for a minute and ask yourself the question that I want to ask you. Because that didn't even sound even remotely practical. So after this, I want to know if we are going to continue to say anything that is in the Bible we are following, or are we going to be conditional about it, revise it for modern day usage, or continue with these archaic laws that have been outdated and nobody is really following? I know there are places still in the world where people are stoned to death for adultery and that kind of thing. Those things are now becoming a thing of the past. But people are still holding on to the Bible and saying they are following everything the Bible says. Just think about it. Women were not even second and third class. They had no rights. A woman had no right to her body. And even today, in today's society over there, in some tribes in Africa, women are being mutilated by old men. Children, young girls, as young as 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, young babies are being mutilated by old men using old razor blades to remove their clitoris. Because a woman should not be pleasured. It is supposed to be a sin. All a woman is supposed to do is to bear children, have a husband. People are being mutilated in parts of the world, and people are justifying that mutilation with biblical scriptures. People are stoning people and justifying it with biblical scriptures because it is written. Yeah. And women have had to fight. Women have had to fight to be able to work outside the home, to be able to work alongside men. And we continue to fight. The struggle continues, my friends. I'll yet oh yes, Swoop. Swoop says I've seen that at age 10 or 11. Oh yes. Young babies, old men are tying them down, holding them down, and having them spread eagle and taking away what nature has provided for them, what nature has given them as part of their body. And you have these old men taking old rusty razors and mutilating the bodies of these children. Imagine that. But anywho, that, my friends, let me see. Did I put the topic to be? Who is that? AG, that's you. AG, what's up? Hey, good morning. How are you doing? Exactly, Sue. No anesthetic at all. No, nothing. No sedation, no nothing. Just these old men finding any old sharp implement and mutilating these children. Why? Why? But the struggle continues, my friend. The struggle continues. For this morning, we are also going to read chapter 25, and that's going to be it for this morning. We are going to read chapter 25, April 23. Yeah, let us read chapter 25. AG says, where are you? Up, go to bed. AG, I've slept already. 4 o'clock is usually my wake up time. But I was home last night, so I woke up a little bit earlier. Yeah, and I'm up. I got things to do. The day only has 24 hours. Why should I sleep for 20? Let us read chapter 25 of the book of Deuteronomy, my friends. If there be a controversy between men, and they come unto judgment, that the judges may judge them, then they shall justify the righteous and condemn the wicked. And it shall be, if the wicked may be worthy to be beaten, that the judge shall cause him to lie down and to be beaten before his face, according to his fault by a certain number. You hear that? Y'all remember in slavery, the people used to be whipped according to whatever the crime they had committed. That determines how many floggings they would get. Put them on their face to lay down and whip them. Listen to this whooping. Listen to how the whoopings should go. Verse 3 of chapter 25, the book of Deuteronomy. 40 stripes he may give him, and not exceed, lest if he should exceed and beat him above these with many stripes, then thy brother should seem vile unto thee. 40 stripes you forgive him, 40 lashes. Thou shalt not muzzle the ox when he treadeth out the corn. If brethren dwell together, and one of them die and have no children, the wife of the dead shall not marry unto a stranger. Her husband's brother shall go in unto her and take her to him to wife, and perform the duty of a husband's brother unto her. All right? So if your husband died, your husband's brother have to marry you. Then you suppose your husband don't have no brother. What's supposed to happen to you? And it shall be, because you all remember how with Tamar, if you all remember, we had read that before, how Tamar, that woman in the Bible, Tamar was married to Judah's first son. Keep it in the family, I agree. Tamar was married to Judah's first son. And he was wicked in the sight of God, they say, and God smote him. And he died. And then Tamar was married to the second son. Because you know they had to keep it in the family. And he too was wicked, and God smote him. But the third son that Judah had was too young at the time to be married to Tamar. And so Judah told her, go back to your father's house and wait there until this third son becomes an adult, and I will give him to you to marry. But when the third son became an adult, Judah did not keep his word to Tamar. And so Tamar played a trick on him, pretended to be a prostitute. And when he was going up into the hills to go shear his sheep, she offered to sell him some nookie. And he agreed to buy the nookie. And she said, well, I don't trust you. You gonna pay me right now. He said, well, I'll give you some goats, for the nookie. But I have to give you the goat. I'll send back the goat with my servant when I go up on the hill. She said, I don't trust you. You better leave me something of yours so that I can hold on to it. So that when the person come with the goat, I will give them whatever it is. He left his staff and his signet with her. And when the person came back with the goat, she was nowhere to be found. When he asked around, where's the harlot? They said, there's no prostitute here. No prostitute is here. When they found out that she was pregnant, he ordered that she be brought to justice for being pregnant and not being married. And not only that, she was supposed to be waiting for him to give her the last son to marry. So why did she go against the law and go get pregnant? And as they were chastising Tamar, Tamar said, this signet and this staff, the person who owns this signet and this staff is the father of the child I'm carrying. Who is it? They found out that it was Judah. They could no longer punish Tamar. They could no longer punish her because she was pregnant for the same man who was just about ready to enact the punishment on her for being pregnant with somebody's child and not waiting for his son to marry her, even though he was never going to give her his son. He was just tricking her. So then he didn't bother to punish her because she was one step ahead of him. And she had the twins for him. Y'all remember that? She had the twins for Judah. So the children she had ended up being her husband's brother and sister. They end up being her husband's siblings because they belong to her husband's father. So these are the same things that we see happening. Men are trying to enact laws against women for what women do with their bodies. We see right now there's this big Roe v. Wade contention that continues because these men, they want to sit down up there and make decisions and tell a woman what she should and shouldn't do, what she can and can't do with her body. They still want to maintain this patriarchal regimen where they make the law and they say what we need to do. It's not a level playing field between them and us. It's like they are against us, and women are not standing for it anymore. Let us continue with verse 6 of chapter 25. And it shall be that the firstborn which he beareth shall succeed in the name of his brother which is dead, that his name be not put out of Israel. All right, you hear that? So she shall name her first son, her firstborn. She shall name the firstborn after her husband that is dead, so that his name will not be forgotten. And if the man like not to take his brother's wife, then let his brother's wife go up to the gate unto the elders, and say, my husband's brother refuses to raise up unto his brother a name in Israel. He will not perform the duty of my husband's brother. Then the elders of his city shall call him and speak with him. And if he stand to it and say, I like not to take her, then shall his brother's wife come unto him in the presence of the elders and loose his shoe. You hear that? Loose his shoe from off his foot and spit in his face, and shall answer and say, so shall it be done unto that man that will not build up his brother's house. You hear that? At the law that, that is the law, If your brother dies, you need to take his wife as your wife, as yours. Sleep with her, give her children, all that thing. But if you refuse, if you don't like her like that, and you don't want to have to partake in that, you don't want to have to do that. She go up to the church and she complain to the elders at the church and say, my husband's brother does not want to live up to these responsibilities to take me as his wife. What should I do? The elders are going to call him in and talk to him and say, this is the law. When your brother dies, you're supposed to take his wife. And the brother says, no, I do not want to partake in that. I do not want to have to do with that. The elders are going to permit this woman to bend down, take the lace out of the man's shoes. I thought they only wore sandals. I never know them wear shoes with lace. But anywho, take the lace out of his shoe and spit in his face. What? Let us continue reading. Verse 10 of chapter 25. And his name shall be called in Israel, the house of him that had his shoe loosed. When men strive together, one with another, and the wife of the one draweth near for a delivery, draws near to deliver her husband out of the hand of him that smiteth him, and puts forth her hand, and it takes him by the secrets. Then thou shalt cut off her hand, thine eye shall not pity her. What? This is another mutilation again. All right, let's read that again. When men strive together one with another, that means when they are fighting, when they are in conflict, and the wife of the one draweth near for to deliver her husband out of the hand of him that smiteth him. So if the wife comes into the fight to fight with the man who is fighting her husband, and puts forth her hand and taketh him by the secrets. So if she come into the fight and she grabs him by the balls, then they shall cut off her hand without pity. You shall not have any pity on her, no pity, no mercy on her. All right, Soup says the sandals is held together by the lace. Okay, there you go. There you go. All right, let us continue. Oh boy. Thou shalt not have in thy bag divers weights, a great and a small. Thou shalt not have in thine house divers measures, a great and a small. But thou shalt have a perfect and just weight, a perfect and just measure shalt thou have, that thy days may be lengthened in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. For all that do such things, and all that do unrighteousness, are an abomination unto the Lord. Remember what Amalek did unto thee by the way. Amalek, what did Amalek do? I don't remember. When he were come forth out of Egypt, how he met thee by the way, and smote the hindmost of thee, even all that were feeble behind thee, when thou wast faint and weary, and he feared not God. Verse 19 and last. Therefore it shall be, when the Lord thy God hath given thee rest from all thine enemies round about, in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee for an inheritance to possess it, that thou shalt blot out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven, thou shalt not regret it. That is the end of the reading for this morning from the book of Deuteronomy. We read Deuteronomy's chapters 23, 22, 24, and 25. I want to say thanks to each and every one of you who came into the reading this morning. Thanks to those of you who commented and those of you who stayed on the sidelines and looked in. I want to say thank you also for coming in. I sincerely appreciate every one of you. But for this morning, that's going to be it from me for this morning. Until next time, my friends, this is Trev from Trevessence, where your journey matters. Join me again tomorrow morning when we will continue the reading of the Holy Bible. We will continue reading the book of Deuteronomy. Until next time, my friends, have yourselves a great day. Thank you, Soup and AG, for commenting in the chat. I sincerely appreciate you and I appreciate your company.